on, guys? My name is William Dauria. Today we're going to talk about once you have acquired wealth, or better yet, while acquiring wealth, what you should do, what you shouldn't do, and what I do in my journey as I'm acquiring wealth, what I don't do that the average person thinks that I probably enjoy. Let's dive into it. Hey guys, for me, for the very first time, my name is William Dauria. I stepped out of the rat race, working a 9-to-5, owning my own business, realizing that I own a job and I actually have not bought my freedom, and I'm actually working harder than ever. That's when I decided to sell my company, buy rental property real estate, and I live off the passive income. This channel is all about achieving your financial independence as soon as possible, and then living your life on your own terms, guys. If you like that, consider subscribing, like this content if you do. So today, I want to talk about the path to wealth, okay? And the very first thing I'm going to stop and talk about is your vehicles, okay? And when I first reached my first $1 million mark in my 20s, I, for the most part, I mean, a lot of people would say, well, you could drive whatever car you want. I still drove a car worth $1,000. It was a 2001, this wasn't that long ago, guys. It was a 2001 Honda Accord, salvage title. It was green, it was kind of ugly, and I drove that for a while, guys. And before that, I had a Honda Accord. I've always bought used cars. I've never in my life have bought a new car. And I still, in the future, I'm looking forward and don't see myself buying a new car as well. I buy them used, I buy them highly depreciated. Therefore, my principal, I can get majority of it back and lose as little to none as possible. Also, it doesn't affect, I'm gonna put my cruise control on here, it doesn't affect my DTI, my debt to income ratio, for the banks or credit unions or anybody else looking at my credit for anything for that matter. Also, when I buy a car, for instance, I bought a F-150 for $3,500. I drove it for 7 years and I sold it for $3,500. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about, guys. Because here's the thing, a lot of people think that once you hit your first, 1 million or your second million, or even up to your fifth million, that you could start living lavishly. You could buy that, you guys pick, whatever, Ferrari, Lamborghini, Ford GT40, whatever your taste is, okay? You would think that you would go out and you would buy that lavish car, you would buy that luxury, maybe a boat or a house or whatever that you want, right? But here the thing is, guys, is living the way you did to make it to that point. If you start changing that, you're going to reverse everything that you made up to that point. Okay, what I'm saying is, if you live like the, quote, rich guy on TV, you're going to lose everything extraordinarily quick. Okay, this is what I do. If I want to buy something nice or new or different, or new to me at least, what I'll do, let's just say a boat, okay, guys? I'm going to go out and I'm going to find the best bang for my buck boat. Could I buy a new one? Sure. Am I going to? No. Matter of fact, I just did buy a used one I'm talking about. It's 2005. Okay, we're in 2021. I bought a 2005. Super clean, garage kept, 100 hours on it. I bought it with trailer for $12,000. And I bought it because I know that I could own this boat for several years here in the DFW area in Texas, and I could still sell it and get all or very close to all of my money back. That's why I did it, because the principal never gets dissolved, or shouldn't get dissolved, in fun purchases, okay? And a boat is absolutely a fun purchase unless you own like a wakeboard business or something, okay? But the way I buy my vehicles, my boats, an airplane, whatever you want, is I take the principal, let's just say it's $100,000, whatever you want, okay? It's a fancy car, apparently. You have $100,000. Instead of spending it on a car, what you'll do is you'll buy, for me, I'll buy a rental property. and then that will cash flow at least $1,000 a month, and then in that case I will finance that $100,000 thing, okay, which will give me a monthly payment of hopefully about what I put out. Okay, so basically what I'm saying is buy a house, let the cash flow pay for your new thing, and then once your new thing is paid for, you still have that original money. Okay, it's all about being smart. It's about being smart, accumulating wealth, and then once you get it, continue to do the same thing. Continue to be smart. Now you might be asking, well, what point can you drive a nice car? And in my opinion, not everybody's going to agree with this, okay? I don't think you should buy a used, I'm never talking about new. In very rare circumstances, I'm talking about new. A used exotic. Let's just call it exotic. Say you want a McLaren, say you want a Lamborghini, say you want a Ferrari, whatever, okay? I don't think you should own something like a supercar until you have a net worth of north of probably $5 million. Now, there are things out there called like supercar hacks and how you could buy a car and then get all your money back. And yes, that is 100% true, and it absolutely can happen, guys. It's not a myth at all. But the thing is you actually have to put out that kind of money up front in cash, or you have to finance it, which will destroy your debt to income ratio when it comes to banks. Now you might be saying, well, I can still buy a house afterwards. Yeah, but can you buy an apartment complex now that's worth, millions of dollars? Could you buy 3 single family homes now because your DTI is affected because of that Ferrari? That Ferrari, let's just call it Ferrari. That Ferrari is going to cost you a lot more money in the long term, because now your buying power to what really matters to actually make you money is now affected. Okay, so basically, once you're accumulating wealth, once you've actually got it, whatever wealth number may be, guys, a lot of people pick 1 million, right? Let me tell you guys, $1 million is such a small amount of money these days, especially as a real estate investor. Use the $1 million mark as your first benchmark to success, not your goal. 1 million is not your goal in real estate, okay? Don't think of, I can hit $1 million and retire, right? That could you? Yes. Why would you want to, though? See, the way that real estate investing really works, okay, is the money that you're getting in cash flow, all that cash that's coming in, you want to take a sliver of it, live off of that. That's why you need to live at a percentage of your total income, and then that extra chunk you want to reinvest before the end of the year so you can take advantage of more write-offs, okay? And every year do that, and therefore by the end of the year, your taxes that you owe are so much less because you've invested so much more every single year. It keeps coming in, you keep it out, keep it put out. It keeps coming in, you keep it put out. And you keep spending it, you keep making a tax deduction for yourself. All the while you're buying more properties, you're earning more in net worth on the initial buy. My last property was a little duplex. I made $30,000 on the same day I signed for it. Okay, it cash flows about 1.3% on a monthly. So whatever I paid for it, it cash flows 1.3% per month. That's a 15% return on just my cash on cash. Okay, also the property here in North Texas are going up 15% per year. Plus, I got principal pay down if I were to have financed it as well. And then you have the initial equity when you bought it. Like, you get all these benefits, but you also get a tax deduction on top of that. So the important thing is to never stop buying. And the more you buy, the more you make. And the more of that sliver allows you to live more lavishly. And that sliver is a percentage, guys. It's not necessarily a number. It's a very small percentage at that. Like 20% of your income. Okay, eventually you'll get to the point where 20% this year will be you're living on beans and rice and beans. You guys know who I'm referring to. And then 5 years later, 20% is much, much nicer. Okay, and then 10 years later, 20% is very, very nice. But you've got to be careful not to get involved or fall into the trap of keeping up with the Joneses. And what keeping up with the Joneses is, hey, he's got a Ferrari, I have to, or a Mercedes. I've got to up the ante. I've got to get whatever. I've got to lease my car. I've got to keep up and buy new or keep buying used or replacing what. If it's still working and it's still good, keep it. Don't get rid of it. Run the life out of it, and before it dies, sell it and get out from under it as much as you can. And run that process and continue. I'm not saying you have to drive pieces of crap your whole life. I'm not saying that at all. Actually, I'm kind of saying the opposite. But initially, you need to eat dirt. Like, you can't just come in, even if you make $100,000 a year, guys. $100,000 a year on a W-2 job with all your taxes taken out, and then you take out your expenses. How much do you really have left at the end of the year? Because I was living on less than half of that my entire life, up to now. When I say half, I mean half of my income. And then half of it, or actually a little bit more than half of it, was going back into the business. So you can imagine how little I was actually living on and just reinvesting. I did that for over a decade. I lived on very, very little. And I drove cars that were probably worth a tenth of all my employees' cars. All my employees had nicer cars than me. Matter of fact, a lot of them had new cars. I drove the biggest pile of crap in the parking lot. And I did that so I can reinvest myself heavily. I put in 60 hours a week. I mean, you really got to put your nose down and dig hard, especially when you're first getting in the industry, guys. Nobody gets into real estate investing and just takes off and it becomes wondrous and they're making millions the first year. It doesn't work like that. Sometimes you have to get in and start wholesaling. The great thing about wholesaling, and I'm not an advocate for wholesaling, okay, guys, but the great thing about wholesaling, seriously, is you get to learn the industry. You get to learn, where to buy them right, where to sell them right, the ARVs. And this is just to accumulate some money enough to buy and hold rental properties. That's all I do. I don't do wholesaling. I don't do flipping. I just buy real estate. Matter of fact, I'm 35 right now. I have owned property for the last 10 years, including my primary residence, okay? And I've never sold a piece of real estate in my entire life. I have over a dozen properties now, single family, multifamily, commercial properties. Never sold anything. I don't plan on ever selling anything. Now, of course, this can change in the future, but like right now, I don't ever plan. And we are in the highest ARV, the prices of homes are the highest I've ever seen by far. But I'm taking advantage right now. I'm stripping the equity out of the properties and I'm purchasing undervalued properties with that equity. I'm not using my own money, okay? And that's another tactic in the real estate investing game that you would use to scale much, much quicker. You buy them undervalued, you pull the equity out of the house, not your own cash that you save, because you and me and everybody else, we can't save enough cash fast enough to keep buying properties at the speed to really, really scale quickly. Okay, if I said, hey, come up with 5% down on a $20 million apartment complex, how long would that take you? And if you're doing the math after tax income, it's like the rest of your life, okay? Now, if you were to take equity from a bunch of properties and pull that out, and then maybe bring a private investor in, and then maybe borrow a little bit on the down, all of a sudden you can make everything happen in 60 to 90 days, okay? Do you see what I'm talking about? And you might say, well, why would you want to strip equity out to buy something? Why wouldn't you just want to save your money and buy it, or take out a loan and this, that? You want to acquire that property sooner than later, okay? The best time to buy real estate was actually yesterday. The next best time is today. All right, that was said by, I believe it was Brandon Turner on Bigger Pockets. It is so true. Matter of fact, when I heard that, I laughed and I thought about it and I was like, you know what? Especially nowadays, properties are going up like daily. It's not going to stay like this, okay? But what he's saying is get a hold of real estate now, because it's always trending up, okay? Yes, there are market cycles and they will go down in value, and then they'll come back around and they'll be higher than ever, okay? There's market cycles, okay? Right now, everybody, including myself, thinks we're at the top, okay? Would it or will it come down in value? It could come down this year, next year, 5 years, probably not 5 years, but it'll come down in value, but the rents will typically stay at a much higher rate than the home's value or the apartment complex, for instance, right? But the apartment complex are valued differently. So the apartment complexes are valued based off the cash flow alone. So if the numbers make sense going in, you can always offload that in any economy, especially because everybody needs a place to live, and you would be able to sell it to another investor solely based off the cash flow. Now, single family homes will absolutely drop in price, and I will continue to buy all through the cycle. If I buy closer to the top, I make sure that the cash flow works for me now, because it may go down later on. And I want to make sure that I'm getting such a good deal that when the market cycle goes to here, that what I bought it for here and what it's worth here is at least a break-even point, because at that point I couldn't have got any cheaper, okay? Or at least not much cheaper. And I want to make sure that once the value gets down to here, it still makes sense. And then once all the values are down here, I'm going to be buying real estate like crazy, because now everything is on sale, okay? That's how I think about money. That's how I think about real estate. That's how I think about basically building your net worth up, building your network up, because your network determines your net worth. Basically not going out and buying dumb stuff, okay? If you're a guy that likes to go out and buy a bunch of guns, really reconsider. I mean, you have 2 arms and a bunch of zombies come in, you can't grab 5 at once. That's always what I've said. Stuff like that. I mean, like, you have to really prioritize your life, because every dollar you spend now is costing you future dollars by a lot, okay? So if you have an expensive hobby, all that stuff, see what you can do to really scale that back and to put money into your future. Because would you rather work 40 years and retire on 10 years? Or would you rather hustle, put your nose down, grind hard for 10 years and retire for 40? All right, guys, that's my video. I think I've talked long enough today. I did want to put something out. It was a little bit on my mind, and I'm just kind of going. I don't have any notes or anything today. If you guys thought this was useful at all, smash that like button. Continue to follow my channel. I make several videos per week on real estate investing and just personal finance, what it takes to actually have a high net worth. And I model the guys that are in the hundreds of millions, because I know that one day I will be there myself, and I want to share my journey. That's the goal of this YouTube channel, is to share my journey as a little guy now, working my way up. And basically, I'm going to tell you what I'm doing, what I found. Also, I have a really cool video coming up. I'm just closed on my first private money deal on a Burr property. That's basically cash out refinance, non-bank. I'm going to go over the APRs, how it was done. It was the best transaction I've done, but I want to make sure it closes completely before I make a video. I'm going to share all those good details with you, how I found him, how I vetted him, all that good stuff, and why I'm sticking with private money. And guys, thanks so much for watching the video. If you stuck all the way through the end, and I will see you on the next one.